that other work, you're working with Alcon on this project. This is another.
About Johnson & Johnson,
Yeah.
when they invested money in your company, didn't they want share from it?
Yes, so they wanted shares, and that's what they got. So they hold now, even now, they hold around 8% of the company, not a lot. But the deal we did with Alcon, which is something, again, depending on who you are and at what stage you come, and this is something, for example, this company, I'll tell you about it in a minute, we are trying to make deals such that the strategic invests money for not to get a part of the company really, just so they can have an option to buy the technology. So that way, we are not, as founders, are not diluted. Everyone is familiar with the term dilution when you get money? Okay, so when you get money, let's say you start with 100 shares and 100% of the company. You get money from an investor. They say, okay, we are giving you $1 million and we want 50% of the company. Let's say this is the deal. Or maybe they want 70, or maybe they want to give you $5 million for 30%, depending on which stage you are and so forth. But basically, every time typically when you get money from investors into the company, your share in the company gets diluted. You start with 100%, and just to give you a sense, in the company that I've started 19 years ago, probably today I started with 33%, I have probably less than 2%. I don't know, I didn't check recently, and it will keep on going down. Okay, because 19 years and $18 million, that's what happens. So as an investor, as an entrepreneur, you want to get money from strategics who are not interested in really getting a share of your company as much as they're interested in the technology, because they want to get the technology from you once you pass a certain stage, whatever that stage is. Okay, commercial stage, or clinical stage in the case of sciences and clinical work with my field and so forth. Because I understand obviously not everyone here comes from the medical field. This is a company that we've started in 2010, maybe, yeah, I think so. This is like a ring, a very simple ring. I mean, we put it on a suture and we coated it with silicone and put drug into it. So you think, very simple, really a simple idea. So we liked it. We like simple ideas. So you see, it's a suture, so it gives them a firmness, and you have some matrix around it, and in this matrix you can put drug, and that's good instead of drops, because to put drops you have to put them every day in your eye, and this can elute the drug for 6 months. So you just need to put it in your eye, and for 6 months you forget about putting drops. So good idea, I think so. And this is how it looks on the eye. So you just see this little ring here, and it's really not noticeable and so forth. And I went with such a ring on my eye just to practice for months and months. But as clear as it seems now, people had a hard time to get it. Because what you're saying in essence, I'm going to give someone this device instead of giving them drops. And of course we want to ask them for more money, or from the insurance to pay more money for this thing instead of the drops. And the insurance company says, well, I don't care, I'm giving the person their drops, and if they take it, great for them, and if they don't take it, screw them. It's not my responsibility. I'm not, if I can give them, a $10 bottle and instead of a $100 ring, so to speak, I'm going to give them a $10 bottle. So navigating through that and explaining that to the market and the companies and the FDA and the insurance was a very, very hard task. At the end we got there. At the end one of the big companies bought our company, but it took us here like I think $28 or $27 million investment in order to sell it, and it took us 5 years until we had all the results after 3 years. So 2 years of really explaining the benefits. And so again, to what you're doing here, be able to articulate the benefit to whoever the customer is going to be extremely well, and don't fool yourself. I mean, go and test it and see how it transcends. This is the last, and here we were just lucky. And the reason we were lucky is we developed this very neat device. It's in the size of a grain of rice, even smaller. This is a long grain of rice, this is shorter. And we put it in the eyeball, and we can refill it. And this is, instead of giving people injections every month, this is what you need in many eye diseases. It's a huge market. People go every month to the doctor to get an injection into the eye. There are about a million people in the US, as an example, that are getting that treatment all the time. And what we said, we'll put a little reservoir in the eye, we can fill it, and the drug will slowly elute out, and then they can come every 4 months or 6 months and so forth. So that was the idea. But in truth, none of the big companies who had the drug were interested in it. And what happened that at one point, the leading company who were dominating the market, and they didn't even answer our phones, they one day they woke up in the morning to find that they have competition, and the competition is doing much better than they do. So suddenly they panicked. They picked the phone, called us, and they say, "Don't worry, guys. We are going to fund your project into the future." They invested close to $100 million. We were not diluted anymore. We had only one investment into this company. They invested themselves about $100 million into the company, and then they bought it for over $500 million from us. So that was the story of this company, but it was really, we did all the right things, but at the end of the day, we needed luck, because if there wasn't that other competitor that was biting their ass, they wouldn't have never taken that technology. They were very content and satisfied with the market they had. So with that, I say, first of all, you need a partner, but take someone that is going to give you something. And I finish with that because I think that's, for me, after we knocked out technology, money we can work for a few months for free, but even starting in the morning and going to the movies or to have the falafel, you need to go with a partner, otherwise it's really depressing. So good luck to everyone, and happy to be here.
Okay, Yair, can you take some questions?
Absolutely.
So for those of you who are doing things that are related to medicine, whether you're from engineering or life sciences, this is the opportunity to ask somebody who really knows, because I only make up my answers in this area, but Yair really knows. So please, this is your chance.
Yeah, and also one-on-one, and also if you feel free. I got so much help from others along the way. Amazing people that I've met that advised me, including Ariel, who helped me a lot. So I should, if there is an opportunity, Ariel has my phone number, just feel free to give me a call, and I'll do my best to give you whatever advice I can. But also now I can.
I have a question. One of the big things we talked about is beachheads, but it seems like, your way by having all these few startups running at the same time, you had multiple beachheads. Did you identify a beachhead within each startup, or what was going on inside?
So, you noticed, or maybe it wasn't clear, I didn't start with many startups. That's where I ended up. But the first startup I did was, just one for 8 years. 7.5 years.
So was that a good idea, or should you have another beachhead?
I think, I'll tell you the truth, first of all, I'm surprised that anyone gave me the chance in the first place to do my first idea, because I had zero experience, and it was just people were investing in anything back then. A little bit like they do today. Now there is lots of money in the market that is looking for investments. It's not the case, 2008, 9, 10. The market pumped and it was really bad times for people like us. But today it's not. Today interests are low, and so people are looking to spend money. But I would say that my answer to that is start with one thing and really focus on that. And one thing that, again, an advice that I got from someone who back then, was a very, I would say, entrepreneur that was way older in the profession than mine. He started 6 months before me, so he had all the experience in the world. And he told me one advice which I think holds true, is when you go into something, you need to be, at some point, maybe it will take you 6 months or a year or 2 years, but the #1 expert in this field. So I can tell you that everything I do, I try, at the end of the day, I get in front of all the people who are the experts, and I think, or I try to know more than they do. So you need to be at the edge of knowledge. Once you're at the edge of the knowledge, then you can push to the new frontier. But if you're if you're searching under the light, then and I think it's you as researchers, many times you're in that area anyway. You're exploring. So or whether it's exploring the lab or exploring ideas, social ideas, whatever. Idea is an idea, but you need to be at the edge of knowledge and then take the extra step.
I will ask in Hebrew in order to be understood.
Okay.
פעם שעברה דיברנו האם להתחיל בצורה של משהו של ללכת ל-end user, או להתחיל לחפש חברות גדולות שמן הסתם לא בהכרח יסתכלו עליך. אני רואה וההמלצה הייתה להתחיל מה-end user, ואז אולי יסתכלו עליך. אני רואה שאתה בעצם הלכת מראש לחברות גדולות כמודל עסקי, או שזה יצא ככה, או מה דעתך על הסיפור הזה? זה בדיוק מה שאני מתלבט עכשיו.
Yeah, so I'll translate so those who, there is someone who, so the question was, should we go to the end users, or what seemed to be my approach is go to the big companies that seem to know already what the end user might want, and then don't bother with the end user. So obviously from a couple of the stories here, J&J, for example, and Zeiss stories, to understand that you cannot trust the big companies to know what the end user wants. Not because they're not doing that, they're doing that process very well internally, but they don't give a damn about your idea. So they can say, yeah, run with your idea, even they'll put, a little bit of money, and sometimes they won't do even that. But you cannot rely on their, I would say, understanding of what the customer really needs. So I don't think.
Could it be also in the case of J&J or Zeiss, the first example, their end user was not actually the patient.
Yeah, their end user was the doctor.
So they couldn't get the relevant information.
They couldn't get relevant, but they didn't even ask the doctors. So it was, and the doctors probably would have told them, if they've done a good market research, listen, we're not going to buy this device. I mean, this is 9,000 boxes a year, you're out of your mind. But Zeiss didn't do this, you have to understand that big companies, sometimes they act out of fear. They see a technology and they want it, they pay it, they shelve it even many times, but they just want it either to block competition or because they are fearful that someone else will get it or and so forth. So I don't think that, I think knowing since, at least in my case, I'm not aspiring and in that sense, Ariel and me are a little bit different animals, in the sense that I do not aspire to be Amazon. I think it's not a job for me, and also it's not. I think I know where I'm good at, which is the early stages. I can take something at the early stage, get it to a proof of concept, and then give it to a new company who knows how to develop and scale up and get it into the market. So I do need to know what a strategic partner may want, because I can develop something that the customer wants, but it doesn't fit the strategy of the big companies. But you absolutely need to have both. And if I have to choose one, customer is number one, because if you figure out the customer, you can then also come to the strategic, or find the right strategic to fit your technology and problem you're trying to solve.
כשאתה פיתחת את החברה, הלכת לכיוון למכור את זה לחברה גדולה, או שחשבת אני הולך לכיוון end user, ואחר כך מישהו כבר ידע אותי?
So I would say that when depending when, initially I went to the end user and then hope that one of the big companies will pick it up. Today, I don't do a move without fully understanding that a big company is able and wants to pick it up. And now we are in a position where we are tapped into all the big players in our field. You know, we are already not young anymore, and we've been in this space for 20 years. So, and with all the team members, so between us, we know everyone, and we go to these companies and say, either we tell them what are the problems you want to solve, we can do them better, faster, cheaper for you, or we come with them with a problem, an idea and say, you know, is that something you're interested in? If you're not interested in, you know, we won't pursue it.
In the academia, many times we have the solution, and then we are looking for the problem, which I understand it's a basic problem in this field. Is it right?
For me, I personally never cared about solutions. So I think that what I always try to figure out very well, and that's what I was talking about, understanding to the questions of this question about, you know, the edge of technology or edge of knowledge. It's not the edge of knowledge about technology. The technology, you know, if you don't understand exactly, you know, most of the things I actually don't understand. I don't understand how to do polymers, which we needed to do for one of the companies. I don't know how to do software, which we needed for the first company. I definitely don't know how to do contact lenses. I don't know how to do drugs that we are developing for dry eye now in one of the other companies. I don't know any one of these things. I mean, I'm a doctor. So what I can do is try to understand as much as I can the problem. Because if I can understand the problem, I can figure out whether there is or there isn't solution. Or if someone else comes and says, you know, I can solve it, then, you know, I have a sense whether his solution is able to. So I would say that in many cases we identify the problem. You know, in the company, the one before last that we started, that is a company for dry eye where we developed a drug. And I understood the problem very well. I read everything that there was to know about this problem, and I was agnostic to the solution. We actually thought we would develop some kind of a device. And we went to Mexico because I worked a lot in Mexico in a clinic there that is very friendly to us. And we, you know, did all kinds of, or the doctor did all kinds of treatments to his patients, and we looked, you know, what might work, what doesn't work. You know, we had all kinds of ideas of what kind of devices. And suddenly one day he needed to do some kind of a procedure. And apparently it was a painful procedure. And even the local anesthetics that he had there in place wasn't good enough to alleviate the pain. So he went down the corridor to his friend who was a dermatologist and told him, listen, you are always taking skin thing, you know, of the skin. Do you have something really strong? He says, yeah, I have. We gave him something like a jar of whatever. our friend the ophthalmologist didn't even check. He smeared it over the, smeared it over the patient's eye and was able to do the procedure because the anesthetic was really working great. And 3 hours later, these two patients come and they're in agony. Their eye looks like a mess. I mean, their cornea is totally like burning. Obviously, he felt bad, we felt bad. Patients obviously felt really bad. I mean, they felt the worst, but you know, we at least morally we felt. And you know, we treated them. Wasn't something 24 hours. It was healed. I mean, nothing serious, truly. But what we discovered, we examined this patient, of course, every day. I spend my days there in this clinic there in Monterrey, Mexico, and every day I looked at the patients. And by the third day, what I noticed is that their disease is cured. And I said, I mean, we didn't really treat them because whatever we did was not real treatment. We just wanted to do a procedure. But something, and what clicked then is that we can do this curing for this disease with a pharmacological agent rather than a device. So we pivoted the whole company to develop a pharmacological device, and that's where we are now. Invested $22 million and doing clinical trials in Australia and so further. So I didn't care about the problem. I mean, the problem was, a good problem to have, whether it was a device, but along the way, after 6 months of mucking around, we suddenly, by mistake, because the guy took the wrong thing for his dermatologist, we found we can do it with a pharmacological agent, and then we needed just to find the right pharmacological agent that will cure the problem without causing the mess on the rest of the eye. So. Good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Good night.